Welcome to Cinema Bites, your go-to for movie recaps in a flash. Big twists, epic moments, all in just minutes. Our story begins with terrifying sounds echoing in the prison, and our protagonist decided to ignore these sounds. She spends her time counting numbers. That's what she does every day to maintain her mental health. Whenever she hears the soldiers approaching her, she quickly hides anything in front of her, whether pictures or strange items. She hurriedly sits in the wheelchair, preparing for whatever might happen when the soldiers arrive. Mallory tries to hide her fear of them by smiling at them and attempting to appeal to them with her gaze. But we see the soldiers insulting her with the harshest words, tying every part of her body to the wheelchair and dragging her as if she were an animal with no right to move on her own. The entire prison is full of children, and all of them are treated the same inhumane way. The soldiers take all the children to a specific room, and when they arrive, they leave them bound, forbidding them from moving. A woman enters, looking as though she can't stand herself, and we're shocked by the children. This place is supposed to be a school called Silly Creek. Silly Creek starts asking the children scientific questions, and we notice that none of them can answer due to how terrified they are, except for Mallory, who seems to excel in her studies. We find out that the questions rely on memory. If someone has a weak memory and can't recall the teacher's explanations, they will be tortured and killed. Another teacher, Justino, enters afterward, and she seems kinder than the previous one. She smiles at the children and treats them well. When she starts teaching, Mallory interrupts her with a strange request to skip the lesson and continue telling them the story she started before. At that moment, we finally see the children's laughter appear, and they all wanted the same request. Justino couldn't refuse their request and continued the story she tells them every day. We find out that Justino is a very beloved teacher because she's the only one in this ruined place who treats the children humanely. The day ends. The soldiers return and take the children back to their prison. We're shocked to find that after untying Mallory from the black straps, the soldiers are so afraid of her that they keep holding their weapons until they leave. As soon as the soldiers leave, Mallory pulls out the pictures she had hidden. These pictures give her hope that she might live freely again. After a while, when the children return to their prison, they're thrown food, a single meal a day. Looking at Mallory's food, we're shocked. It's a small portion of raw meat, still bloody. Despite being disgusted, Mallory eats it silently because she hasn't eaten all day. Suddenly, the sounds of torture return, and Mallory begins counting numbers again to avoid losing her sanity. While counting, she hears a voice approaching her. She looks out of her cell and sees Dr. Coldway. Dr. Coldway asks Mallory to choose a number between 1 and 20. Mallory randomly chooses 13. Dr. Coldway is pleased with the number and tells her, with a terrifying look, that it's a wise choice. What is this crazy woman planning? And what's the purpose of this strange question? The next morning comes, and as usual, the terrifying sounds fill the place. Mallory has become accustomed to the sounds and continues counting numbers in her head until she reaches room 13. And there's the shock. The room is closed, and there's no sound coming from it. Mallory keeps asking the soldiers what happened to the child in room 13. She asks repeatedly, but no one answers her. When she reaches her class, she looks around for Kenny, the boy from room 13, but he's also absent from the mandatory lesson. At that moment, Mallory becomes terrified, suspecting that she's the reason for his disappearance. She keeps asking Justino about him, but even Justino refuses to answer her. To make Mallory stop asking, Justino allows them to untie their hands to do something fun and new. Each of them writes a story of their own creation. The children are so happy that they forget about Kenny entirely. Each of them grabs a pen and uses their creativity. The soldiers guarding the place are furious at what they see, suspecting that she's breaking the prison's rules. Time runs out, and it's time for each child to narrate their story. When Justino asks who wants to go first, everyone is scared of saying something wrong and being punished, except for the brave Mallory, who wanted to share her story. She tells a strange story that deeply moves everyone. It's about a princess on a lonely island with no one around. The island is full of zombies, and her last hope is to hide from them. But after a long time, she decides to end her life due to her loneliness. She steps out to let the zombies bite her and end it all. But suddenly, a strong zombie comes to save her from his companions. The princess ends up living with this zombie, becoming friends, and overcoming her loneliness. This story makes Justino break down in tears, leading her to commit a mistake that could get her punished. She holds Mallory's head and pats her gently. At that moment, Mallory feels like she's dreaming. It's the first time someone has been kind to her and touched her this way. But soon after, the soldiers enter and yell at the teacher. The soldiers keep calling them animals. Afterward, the Sergeant Parks performs a very strange action by bringing a child closer to one of them. At that moment, all the children move in terrifying and savage ways with their entire bodies, as if they want to attack the soldier and bite him ferociously. But of course, they are restrained in every part of their bodies and won't be able to do so. Justino pleads with Parks to stop what he's doing and to leave, but he says that these little zombies destroyed the entire city and left us living in fear. Then, all the children return to their prison again. Mallory becomes very angry with Parks because of what he said in class. She decides to hurt him with words, just as he hurt her. You're definitely jealous because you've been dreaming of her for a long time, but she never noticed you. In response, Parks orders all the soldiers to leave the place and leave her alone. Indeed, all the soldiers leave. He leaves her tied to the chair without untying her, meaning she won't be able to sleep all night in that state. Afterward, Justino comes to check on Mallory after what happened in class, feeling that the soldiers might have done something to her. When she looks into her cell, she finds her tied to the chair and awake. She keeps calling for the guards, but no one responds. At that moment, she decides to open the cell door herself and help her, even though it's forbidden. When she unties Mallory, we notice her facial features change, and she begins begging Justino to leave immediately before she regrets helping her. We then see Mallory with a completely different face as she transforms into a zombie and lunges at Justino, trying to bite her. But Justino narrowly escapes, leaving terrified. We then see her wiping her face with the ointment that protects humans from zombie bites. This ointment blocks their sense of smell. Justino had forgotten to apply the ointment to her body before entering, but luckily, she didn't turn into a zombie. Later, Dr. Coldway appears and asks Mallory who was with her at that hour and what happened. She replies that no one was there. Dr. Coldway doesn't press further and instead asks her a different question. What's the best number we could choose for tomorrow? Without hesitation, Mallory says number 4, which is her cell number, to find out what happened to number 13 and why it disappeared after being chosen. Finally, a soldier appears to take her to her class. It's the same soldier, Parks. However, Parks doesn't take Mallory to her class, but instead leads her down a different path. Mallory is extremely scared, wondering what they will do to her. She pleads with Parks to take her to her class as usual, but he doesn't respond or care. They descend into the prison's lower levels, and zombies trying to break into the place and kill everyone inside. The soldiers are making continuous efforts to kill them all. For the first time, Mallory steps outside and sees the sun, as Parks takes her to a specific room. There, she encounters Dr. Coldway, who takes her and the nurse to the operating room. Justino appears, threatening to kill them if they don't stop what they're doing. We learn from her that every day, they dissect a child to conduct experiments for a cure. Dr. Coldway tries to calm her down, assuring her that they won't dissect her. But as soon as Justino calms down and lowers her weapon, Dr. Coldway sprays something in her eyes and calls for the guards to imprison and torture her. "I'll imprison you with them," she says. Meanwhile, Mallory tries to escape from her restraints to save Justino, but can't because she is tied up everywhere, restricting her movement. Just then, we hear the sound of zombies, who seem to have finally broken into the prison. Instead of fleeing, Dr. Coldway decides to proceed with the operation and harvest Mallory's organs. But as her nurse closes the doors, a zombie grabs her hand and bites her savagely. Dr. Coldway manages to kill them and escape, leaving poor Mallory tied up and facing a zombie trying to attack anything in front of it. However, Mallory manages to grab a scalpel nearby, cuts her restraints, and quickly escapes to save Justino. When she sees Justino being attacked by soldiers, she ferociously attacks the soldiers, killing them until they fall and die. We then see that the zombies have taken over the entire prison. Any soldier in the prison is bitten mercilessly, and almost no one survives except those who manage to get into the military tanks and escape. Mallory and Justino manage to get into one of the tanks while all the zombies chase after them. Mallory is terrified by what she sees happening on the ground. As she's sitting there, the soldiers notice that she's one of them and try to kill her. But Justino defends her, telling them she'll leave and they won't see her again. Mallory then runs out of the tank before anyone can kill her, marveling at what she sees around her. Later, Justino goes to her and thanks her for her help, but Mallory says that she feels upset. But Mallory tells her that she is upset because of what she did, saying that she has become like those monsters. However, she meant to help her and keep the soldiers away from her. After that, the soldiers call Justino to move away from this zombie. Justino helps her by convincing them that Mallory is not a threat and is very smart. But the doctor says she doesn't care and insists that Mallory will still be dissected, refusing to give up her experiments. She even wishes they would bring her another lab so she can dissect her comfortably. At that moment, Justino slaps her. She reminds her of all the children she experimented on without any benefit. She tells her to leave Mallory alone. We then see Mallory tied to the outside of a tank as they transport her to find a safe place. They arrive at an area that seems free of zombies and take advantage of the safe spot to drink from the river in front of them. However, one of the soldiers, foolishly sensing a zombie nearby, fires his gun to alert the others. This noise attracts zombies, causing chaos. They all rush to the second tank as zombies begin attacking them, one by one. Unfortunately, one zombie bites a soldier, forcing Parks to kill him to prevent infection. The soldiers and doctors then try to figure out a solution or a safe place to go. Everyone wants to get rid of Mallory except for Justino, who constantly defends her. They decide to keep her with them. The soldiers search for a safe place, but the city is in ruins, with broken streets and zombies everywhere. Despite this, the soldiers remain determined and give instructions to the group on how to survive. No loud noises, apply ointment all over their bodies, and pass by the zombies without fear or hesitation. This way, the zombies won't sense them or attack. They follow these instructions, and the zombies don't notice them at all, remaining oblivious. Eventually, they encounter a strange zombie carrying a child and acting motherly. The doctor becomes curious and approaches to examine the child, only to discover it's not a real child, but pieces of flesh from a killed child. She screams in shock, causing all the nearby zombies to gather around her and attempt to bite her. The soldiers manage to kill the attacking zombies and continue on their way quietly until they finally reach a seemingly safe building. They search for food everywhere since they've been starving all day. Mallory sits with Dr. Coldway and asks her why she is so harsh and cruel to all the children. Dr. Coldway explains that she doesn't hate them, but has done everything in hopes of saving the remaining humans from extinction. She then reveals that Mallory, along with other children like her, was born with strong immunity, allowing them to resist the virus successfully. They are half zombie and half human. Later, Justino finds a zombie tied up and eating itself. The zombie has eaten its entire arm. When it sees Justino, it tries to attack and bite her, but she kills it without hesitation. Afterward, she goes to Mallory and gives her a storybook she found in the building, encouraging her to entertain herself since she loves stories. Mallory starts reading the story aloud, and Parks becomes curious about their relationship. It becomes clear that Mallory has gained trust within the group, as even the soldier Kieran listens to her story all night without fear. When morning comes, they decide to leave the building to find their fellow soldiers and head to another prison. Unfortunately, the streets are full of zombies, making it impossible to proceed safely. Mallory suggests she go alone to handle the situation. She confidently walks among the zombies without fear. At one point, she sees a cat, attacks it, and devours it savagely, as she hasn't eaten since being imprisoned. She then reaches a house and is surprised by its appearance because she has never seen a real house before. Inside the house, she hears a dog barking, takes it outside, and devises a clever plan. She throws the dog into the midst of the zombies to distract them and lead them away. She then returns to the soldiers and informs them of her successful plan. The soldiers follow her lead and realize they can't move further due to the zombie threat. Mallory has now become an integral part of their group and takes charge of finding a safe exit. She discovers a side street with fewer zombies and directs the soldiers. There, they proceed cautiously and encounter something extraordinary, a massive zombie tree that leaves the doctor speechless. She is even more astonished when she sees another gigantic tree. Everyone is stunned and asks the doctor about the purpose of these trees. She explains that zombies only bring destruction and ruin to the planet. If the fruit of these trees ever opens, it will mark the end of the world. Mallory, curious, asks what would happen if that were to occur. Dr. Coldway explains that the infection would then spread through the air, turning the entire planet into zombies. As they continue, they finally find a safe house without any zombies nearby. They discover that its occupants were their fellow soldiers. The house lacks food, so Kieran goes out to search for supplies. However, signs of transformation begin to appear on her face. She begs the soldiers to let her leave, fearing she'll attack and eat them if she stays. The soldiers allow her to leave, and she runs everywhere in search of living creatures to eat. However, the city is filled with zombies, and there are no animals in sight. Despite this, Mallory doesn't give up and decides to climb to higher ground to search for meat. Meanwhile, Kieran also searches for food for the group, but finds nothing. Mallory eventually discovers birds on the roof of a building and savagely preys on them. After eating, Mallory finds a door and decides to go and see what's inside. She finds children like her acting normally, but then their expressions change, and she immediately realizes that these children are like her. Their expressions changed because they smelled her colleagues' scent. There's no one else alive in the city, so she runs back home to tell them what she saw. Inside the house, she witnesses a fight between Dr. Coldway and Justino. The former, being foolish, had enough time to explain Mallory's situation and create the vaccine, but failed, leading to their dire circumstances. They discuss the situation, and Mallory warns them about what she saw. Parks tells her that Kieran has covered himself entirely with protective ointment, making it impossible for zombies to harm him. Mallory shocks them by revealing that the protective ointment is a myth because she can smell it on him. Meanwhile, Kieran reaches the supermarket and decides to enter. He leaves his weapons and wireless phone outside before entering. Parks tries to contact him, but he doesn't respond. so they decide to search for him with Mallory's help. Kieran, unaware of the danger, enjoys his time in the supermarket, eating chips and browsing magazines. At the same time, Mallory tries to track his scent but seems lost as he keeps retracing his steps. While reading a magazine, Kieran encounters his fate, the zombie children that Mallory had seen. In a cunning move, the children lure him in. Suddenly, a large number of children appear. Kieran pleads with them to leave him alone, but the zombies savagely attack him. Parks and the soldiers arrive too late, only to find that Kieran has been completely devoured. Mallory grabs the largest child, who seems to be their leader, and beats him mercilessly, intimidating the rest. She kills the leader, causing the other children to fear her. This act convinces her friends to follow her lead, and they return to the safe house. However, they are met with a shocking discovery. The woman in the house has gone completely mad and tries to suffocate them with gas. Mallory manages to outsmart her, pretending to be affected by the gas, only to reveal her true intentions later. She warns the woman that if she tries anything else, she will retaliate without mercy. The woman backs off, and Mallory leaves the house filled with anger and a thirst for revenge. Mallory, determined to take revenge on humanity, burns the zombie tree, releasing the infection into the air and ensuring that everyone becomes infected. Parks tries to stop her but fails. He himself starts showing symptoms of the infection and begs Mallory to kill him before he fully transforms. Without hesitation, Mallory shoots him, transforming everyone into zombies. Finally, Mallory returns to Justino to inform her that she is now imprisoned and cannot leave because the air is contagious. The film ends with Justino adapting to her new life in captivity, continuing her work as a teacher for the zombie children, led by Mallory. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts